Chapter 2. Development of Cosmology, Shan, and the Mist. Every theology that has grown out of light contains a mountain illustration. Judaism and Christianity have Sinai, where Moses talked to God and from which Moses descended, bringing the commandments to those on the slopes below. The childlike founder of Christianity was taken to a mountain to be tempted. He delivered one of the great sermons of the world from those slopes of a mountain. The Indians of the American Southwest have a holy mountain in their cosmology and tell stories remarkably similar to those in the Bible. Myths developed long before they knew of the Bible. Buddhists, Hindus, Taoists, Moslems, and many others have their mountains of light and life. All of them use river, tree, and seed analogies as well. There is good reason for telling of a mythical mountain which mankind is climbing. The analogy will bring us to a breakout into a meadow of green grass and simplicity. Just a little more about Shan, the world. The metaphysical inversion or reversal. The retro nature of the climb, this human experience, is an important dimension of the cosmology to be comprehended if the metaphysical inversion that so mystifies the world, especially metaphysicians, is to be understood and lived intelligently. Certain states of mind know nothing about this inversion or reversal in the nature of things and care nothing about it. Others have heard of the divine reversal, or whatever else it might be called, and accept its validity, but they simply cannot understand it. Still, another group understands the reversal intellectually, but can't find its application in the world. Finally, there are those to whom this mystery has been fully revealed and who are charged with its telling, but face the world's intransience and incredulity in doing so. When the reversal is understood, the wheat and the tares mentioned in the Bible are understood as well. So are the reasons for religion in the world and for the appearances of sin, sickness, and death. Further, those who know this mystery are able to distinguish the honest message from the misleading one or from the intentional lie. The Dashan illustration will lay the background to enable the credulous, the simple, and the childlike, no matter how intellectually astute they are or are not, to perceive this essential unfoldment of metaphysics and, finally, to get beyond the maze of boggling erudition and move forward. There is more to truth than metaphysics alone, my friend, but we do well to understand the reversal and its contradistinctions. They will become crystal clear as you read this book. This is a promise I make to the persistent. Some schools of thought say those who understand the inversion are enlightened. Dashan is an image of an image. In the Gospel according to Thomas, we find these remarkable words. Jesus said, "If they say to you, 'From where have you originated?' say to them, 'We have come from the light, where the light has originated through itself. It stood and revealed itself in their image.' If they say to you, 'Who are you?' Say, we are his sons, and we are the elect of the living Father. If they ask you, what is the sign of your Father in you? Say to them, it is a movement and a rest. That in mind, imagine still another mighty mountain beyond Shan. It is an unseeable infinite mountain of reality, pre-existing Shan in exquisite simplicity. That mountain transcends all names. It can't be seen directly by those who are climbing Shan, but when one reaches the tangible mountain's peak and stands balanced there, he begins to perceive the mountain beyond name, mysteriously inverted, its peak touching the peak of Shan. It is a mighty universe, so vast that even Shan is but a granule within its heart. In a twinkling, the balanced child, but only the balanced child, sees that Shan is an image of the mountain beyond name. More, he sees that Shan, the image of the real, is an infinite quantity of images of the mountain beyond name, all spiraling inward. And because Shan is so many images and images of images, compacted inward, Shan, the world, appears opaque and solid to the climber, his own body a physical microcosm of Shan. The child perceives further that the light which is the substance of Shan is only an image of the light of the real mountain beyond name. The limited light of Shan is in motion. The illimitable light of mountain beyond name is at rest. Shan appears one way in its own limited light, quite another way in the timeless light at rest. Standing atop Shan, one finds that the physical body has a twin, for which the climber's image is a poor inversion. Indeed, the real identity stands within the very center of the ineffable mountain beyond name and atop Shan simultaneously. More than that, the child is everywhere on Shan at once, as well as at the heart of things. This other identity has a name: the child, the Christ light, the guide, the original one I am, the comforter, Messiah, which has never left the state of grace of mountain beyond name, and has never been bound by the world's time and space, even while appearing there. Atop Shan, the balanced view, the child's view, begins to comprehend that everything under its feet is imaged confirmation to infinity of the real, that everything beneath the balanced foot exists in time's inward spiral, present to confirm eternal timelessness and infinite spacelessness. So, as the good people of Kwang-se often say, what does this mean? For starters, it means that at each moment of time on the face of Shan, the unbound, unconfined child within us is available to guide our way to Shan's peak, wherein time ends and timelessness exists already. What does the Christ child, the heart within us, tell us that helps our ascent? That, in truth, the real of us is victorious already, and in proportion to our belief that those words are true, this tangible experience in the world of people, places, and things progressively moves to confirm that fact, proving the light of the eternal, appearing in our experience as another step toward the truth, another glimpse. How? As a perfect balance maintained against all worldly odds, as inward scenes of beauty, as feelings of joy and well-being beyond human comprehension, all rushing to confirm the real, the veritable proof of God the world Shan is looking for. What else does the child within tell us? It tells us intimately of the equation, without which no one tangibly reaches the pinnacle of understanding. What is the equation? It is the mysterious balance, the perfect balance, actually lived in the world of appearances. This will become clear in the pages ahead. The pathways. Shan has 4 long known and studied pathways to the top, and a 5th pathway not so apparent. Love, devotion, service, wisdom, and then the child's way. 5 avenues in all, like 5 approaches, 5 balances, 5 trees, as early Christians spoke of them. The child's top-down view reveals the bottom-up pathways, each a perfect balance. Therefore, we look out into the world from wherever we seem to be and find ways that lead irrevocably to ultimate comprehension. The 5th and last is a composite of the others and is the most direct route of all. That is the way that has been shown to me. It is the pathway, one child wide. It is the child's way. Many of us travel more than one pathway during our lives, and some of us none at all. At the end of our span of time, the pathways plainly merge, and as the fingers of the hand come together at a common arm leading to the heart, all the ways are understood and appreciated in the heart of us. From the slopes, each way is singular, none necessarily better than another. The 5th way, the unseen way, is the child's way, the new way, the straight and open way to Godhead. This work discusses that pathway in detail. When one arrives at the peak of understanding, he finds he has not climbed a real mountain at all. Rather, the climb in tangible time and space confirms the eternal identity residing already in the heart of Godhead, mountain beyond name. Or, to say this obversely, which is the way the world appears to us, at Shan's top, one finds he has climbed the mountain an infinite number of times, and every mortal's search is his own, appearing as all possibilities happening simultaneously. At the peak, one finds that the child's equation is the key for every climber, and he announces this equation to his world. We study with a gentle touch. Sam, I have been searching for the truth with all my strength, but excessive struggle to understand is damning. Too much effort can be as much anathema to truth as too little. The very one who strives with might and main to crash the gates of comprehension is the one least likely to find the feast within. Crumbs mayhap, a glimpse here and a glimmer there, but never enough to suit him, never wisdom itself, never realization itself. The one who climbs towards the truth will ever be the climber. The one who struggles will ever be the struggler. Reading for information is an effort, but reading for confirmation is a joy. The one who grits his teeth and juts his jaw is the metaphysical masochist who beats his head against a wall he builds himself by insisting he is the ignorant one. The climber and the mountain he struggles to climb are one climber. Listen softly, listen gently. Consider the difference between measuring a tree and being a tree. Identified as a rootlet, a twig, a leaf, or a limb measuring the tree, the leaf reaches outside that sense of identity and measures the near infinity of self and wonders how can it be done. Identified as the tree is the measure, and the looking is confirming joy. Whatever wig-wagging gyrations the leaf on a tree may perform, it is the tree living the leaf, and the leaf is nothing of itself. The tree is the leaf, and the leaf needs not but to be itself, which is being already in fact, through no prowess of its own. Listen again. The bud on the tree, closed within itself in darkness, may think it is an identity capable of independent action. It may feel it is blooming itself through its own great effort. But when the bud opens into the light of day, it looks round about with new amazement and declares, "Tree am I, not bud. Tree is being all that I am. Tree is me and all I see. Tree is being this identity. Not Bud at all, not Bill, not Rachel, not Janice. Tree is being all I am. As a bud, I am nothing of myself at all, at all. Tree am I, neither suffering nor afraid. Wisdom atop the mountain of knowledge am I, not a climber, not a climber." Reader, do you see this? Do you see the wisdom of letting go? Do you see the stifling, self-perpetuating arrogance of viewing oneself as an anguished climber still struggling to make a breakthrough? If one must struggle, then let him struggle to confirm the wisdom he already is in truth. The effort to lift ignorance up to wisdom merely perpetuates the belief of an identity in need of an uplift. We let go excessive effort to put off the old identification. We sit easy. We rest in already. We claim the child within to be the real identity and read our books and do our work to confirm that fact. We claim that one whom God is in charge of. My quest for truth has taken me many places in the world, and I have studied at the feet of many enlightened teachers. Each in his own way said, "Perfection is already spread over the face of the land, but men perceive it not." I have sought truth all my life, but lo, that which I seek, I am. Not with a mighty effort, but with gentleness and grace, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. My studies went from searching to confirming. The two efforts look the same, but the results are very different. The truth we seek to confirm is closer than fingers and toes, not leagues nor years away. A supernal harmony is already in command of the awareness that reads these words. Godhead is being the life we are. This awareness I am, not you, not me, not us. Godhead is life and responsible for it. We begin the break with mortal mind, the misidentification, the old man, the liar from the beginning, when we admit to the empty nothingness of an ego struggling to climb the mountain of comprehension. Rather, we acknowledge the allness of Godhead and its self-awareness. There is nothing unenlightened about the awareness looking at these words, though we may long hold to the old belief that we are ignorant of truth. Ignorance resides in the role we play as a taskmaster to God, trying to make God do the taskmaster's bidding. Only the taskmaster needs a breakthrough. Tree of life am I, and as tree tends its blooms and its blossoms, Godhead tends me. Everyone who has studied with me knows we suggest that our study be done with a tender touch. When the symbols of symbols get heavy, and they do over and over, we put them down for a time to look at the symbol directly. It is nice to read a book about trees, another thing to walk among them. The walk makes the reading easier, and without the walk, the reading remains incomplete. A grand wisdom is being the consciousness that reads these words and looks outside the window at the trees standing silently there. We are prone to become profound with a book in our hand, but how much more profound one can be while touching a tree in the wild wood or tending the needs of a stranger. What is this business of analyzing, comparing, and judging everything endlessly? Why the excessive flood of words to get at truth, when truth existed before words came into being? Words are an essential tool, yes, and Shan is better because of them. But there is a marvelous balance between the book and the trees, between the study of words of truth and the living of them. Reader, is this too simple and naive? Intellectualism thinks so, but intellectualism without the heart has failed at being at peace. This simple act of naivety, this inane and childish bit of silliness, will soothe the troubled breast and open the doors of the heart to arenas the intellect knows nothing about. Let me take you there. First mention of the divine equation. In Kwang-se, the group sat talking. With all my travel and study, I've never heard of the equation, the soldier groused. I haven't either, said the minister. Neither had Lee nor Mary. Hans said, one who doesn't live the divine equation simply doesn't know of it. To know it without living it is to be dead. To know it is to live it. Personally, I do not know how one can know he knows it without living it, but I don't know everything. But friend Hans, shouted the soldier, you just told us that the real identity of each of us is omniscience itself. How can one be that and still not know everything? Hans said, God knows everything, but I don't. I am merely the knowing of God, so I certainly don't know everything. That doesn't make sense, not a damn bit of sense, the soldier said. I call that circular reasoning, he added, leaving the room. Knower, knowing, known. Knower, knowing, known. These three are one. The knower is the known. The knower is the knowing. Yes, yes, but the knowing is not the knower. Western metaphysics, as it is mistakenly interpreted, leads one to equate himself with knower, then to attempt to be the knower. The awareness reading these words is the knowing of life, God, Godhead. But God is greater than God's self-perception. My Father and I are one, but my Father is greater than I am, said Jesus. How can I be God's knowing going on and still not know what to do, or which way to turn, or whom to believe? The soldier asked. Han answered, Learn the divine equation. How in heaven or hell can I be God's knowing and still not know the divine equation? I've never even heard of the damn thing. Han answered, Live the equation and you will know. Malarkey, how can I live it if I don't know it, you son of a sick horse? Han answered, Ask. Who? You? You just said that if you told me, I wouldn't be able to hear it or understand what I think I hear. This is insane. You're crazy. Perhaps, said Han, but I know the equation. Dashan and the mist. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Genesis. If one draws a great X on a sheet of paper and visualizes the top half to infinity as representing the invisible Godhead, let him understand that the bottom half represents the entire tangible universe. Dashan, emerging out of ineffability at its peak, even while being embraced by that Godhead simultaneously, not unlike the manner in which a sphere embraces the points, lines, and planes within itself. Then, let one understand that the lower half is the mirrored image of the ineffable above it, below it, surrounding it, and permeating it simultaneously. One sees then that Dashan, matter, is at once image of image, and is immersed within the center of Godhead, great mountain beyond name. Next, we perceive that the ideal state to recognize in the human condition is that our original identity is unbound by time or space and stands atop Dashan. The limited view of ourselves, image of image, struggling along the slopes of the mountain, can call upon the original, the twin, to carry it quickly to Dashan's peak in conscious, here and now, spatial sequential fact. The fact is, the original identity, like the photon, is everywhere in time and space, constantly, there being no human condition we can get into that the child image doesn't know the way out of. Atop Dashan, we find ourselves the very center of being, the non-spatial point at which ineffability flows into the image below, and where image below flows back to Godhead. The real of us, child identity, image of God, is located at the very middle of the X I asked you to imagine. Where does your world begin, reader, if not right here where your eyes read these words? This illustration, when understood, shows one at a glance, number one, the picture of the world and why it isn't real, and two, human experience in time and space, and three, our sequential journey that comes to an end in time even though it exists forever in timelessness. We can understand that all above Shan is light, and all below on the slopes merely images of that light, called limited light, making an inward, downward spiral into immeasurable multiplicity, finiteness, and stolid darkness. Beneath the peak of the world, tangibility is bathed in limited light, imaged light of light, finite, and in motion, a holographic duplication of the real. The Lord of that duplication is the theological Lucifer, angel of limited light, once chief angel, fallen from grace for trying to be God and duplicate his universe. Later, we will see that nothing has fallen from grace really, despite theology's sundry interpretations of Holy Writ. The glimpses that come to us in our human struggle on the slopes of the world are the ever-present child of light beyond light, breaking through, disclosing an unsuspected wonder of reality. In truth, these glimpses are all that's really important in the human experience, all else being the contradictory lessons that lead to them. Our prayers, meditations, yearnings, longings, and spiritual leadings are ever directed by Godhead through the child of us, the original of us who resides atop Shan in the bosom of God. That child, like the photon, is everywhere at once in space and time, available instantly to guide us through the necessary ascent from tangibility. Necessary? The descent isn't real. It never happened, said the metaphysician, only half correctly. More about this in later pages. Even now, the child of us stands atop Shan in the very heart of Godhead, the entire world under his foot, free of the imbalances of the slope, free of the human conditions that propel us in one direction or another on the face of Shan. The child is ever the Christ-light, soul of ourself, capable of hearing our every needful desire along the slopes and absolutely willing to help us make the upward, propelling decisions and movement on the slopes of Shan, unavoidable image world of the discipline. The discipline of the world continues until we are atop the mountain in living fact, not mythical or metaphysical profession. Understand from the center of the great X, where the two mountains touch, downward, there is another light of the world, the limited light of tangibility, appearing to be, claiming to be, the reality for the tangible seen. This appearance of limited light is spoken of as the mist that arose to deceive. That deception is not without God's perfect purpose, as you will perceive for yourself. The limited light we are writing about here is the same light that science says is moving at 186,300 miles per second and illuminates this page as you read. Even the body that walks the slopes of Shan is but a microcosm of identity, image of the child image of God. The child is a microcosm of the real. The physical body of the present reader is quite capable of reaching the top of the mountain of understanding within its lifespan, no matter its age or condition, and in doing so, brings attention evermore to the child real, and ever less to the body of flesh. More, we find the physical body's purpose in the tangible world is to do the will of Godhead. There are things for the self-realized to do in the days ahead, and quickly. For those who attain the peak during this discipline, this lifetime, there comes a moment in time to speak of the equation: life's flow into life, intangibilities flow into the imagined forms of tangibility and back again. For a time, the child of us speaks to the entire world, and the world, having become the subjective world of our attainments and learnings, has also become our imaged selfhood. Atop Shan in living fact, not querulous metaphysical abstraction and profession, we have shrunk egotistically from nothingness to consciously be again the Son of God, the Logos of life. We have ended our descent into the images of tangibility as though they were reality of life. Finally, our vision transcends the world's mist, and we have realized our original state, never fallen from grace, never guilty of human atrocities and sin. Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, we have come to comprehend all the events of our linear lives in time as the good necessary to bring us consciously into the fullness of the Godhead bodily. Does this writer claim to stand atop the mighty mountain of illusion? Dear God, I make no such claim, having no idea the extent of limitlessness image, but right as I have been taken and proven. Every ascent of the mountain is legitimate and good. Philosophy is the moribund approach. Its enemies are intellectualism and self. Theology, or religion, the pathway of faith, is brilliantly straight and true insofar as it keeps us mindful of God, simple and childlike, honest and helpful to mankind. Its enemies are the objective bias and leaders who worship themselves before they have turned to God. Metaphysics and psychology make a direct approach, albeit with many devastating side trails and entrapments. Its enemies are arrogance and self, leaders who turn to God before turning from self, or teachers that attempt to make the self into God. Service and love are the wonderful way wherein the equation is lived without stint and without thought, enwrapping everything in equality and tenderness. Condemnation, envy, and jealousy are the enemies of service. Love, its hope in childlikeness and mercy, has no enemies who can touch it, but lust would try. Now for the tumultuous days ahead, when the false foundations of the world will be shaken apart, comes the final pathway, the hidden way of the child and its equation. Everyone who can see the child of himself still acting in any of his ways will be capable of running quickly to the final blossom of life, calling to the Christ light of himself for unfailing help and respite. That one is carried aloft, up and out of the darkness of shattering icons and selfness. The old nature finally recognized and understood is left behind. The child of us has knowledge of the center ground of religion, philosophy, metaphysics, and science, already knowing all that needs to be known to make it through time. The child will lift the willing of us to the high place, and there we reign over our own overcoming.